live from NASDAQ's MarketSite. I'm your host, Kristina Ayanian. And joining me today is CEO of Aviso AI, Trevor Rodriguez-Templar. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to NASDAQ. Talk to me about Aviso and what you do.
So Aviso is what we call the operating system for revenue. And what I mean by that is we were purpose-built for AI. And we were talking about AI earlier, and AI for a very long time was this black box, right? And it's a broad-based term, of course. There's no true AI because at the end of the day, we don't really have sentient computers yet, right? But at Aviso, what we do is we take signals from different parts of the enterprise. So we look at your calls, your Zoom calls. We look at your phone calls. We look at your email calendar. We look at information that exists in your customer resource management system. We look at information that exists in your enterprise resource planning systems. We bring all those signals together. And our goal in life is to put money in the pocket of account executives out there and companies, hedge risk, mitigate that risk, and in some senses, predict the future. One of our largest customers and advisors, Scott McNeely at Sun Microsystems, talks about the fact that he views Aviso as his crystal ball into the future. So.
You've revolutionized the way businesses handle their operations in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you have a lot of big enterprise customers. Why do companies choose to work with Aviso? What value do you give to them?
So, it's not just enterprise customers. We've got large customers like Dell, who've worked with us for a long time. We have customers like Honeywell, where we've driven 150 million in top line impact. But I think at the end of the day, whether they're large customers or whether they're small, what they're looking for is someone to guide them along the path of how do they take advantage of the latest in technology, right? So when you look at Aviso, we're the only software operating system out there that brings together information from different parts of the enterprise. There's no swivel chair approach. We're not a point solution. We're able to integrate multiple sources of data and bring them together and then present that information in a ubiquitous fashion throughout the enterprise. And that's very attractive to companies out there. So for example, with generative AI and ChatGPT, companies want to know, how can I access information in a secure fashion? And how can I leverage this information? So one, I'm mitigating risk. And in some senses, creating the news, not reporting it. And that's a large part of what we do, right? So.
Absolutely. You're not just a tool, but you're also acting as a strategic business partner.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, the days of using point solutions or technology for technology's sake is passé.
Yeah.
What people want are solutions, right? And what Aviso does is it helps you really manage the deal flow, as you say, on Wall Street, right from conception to execution. And that's important for companies because in this day and time, in this economic environment, the ability to look 3, 6, 9 months down the line, the ability to be able to predict risk and mitigate it in an effective fashion is tantamount. Otherwise, of course, you have a short tenure as a CEO or a CRO, right?
Absolutely. Now tell me about your unique approach to AI. What differentiates you from the rest in the market?
Absolutely. So as I said before, right, Aviso was AI built, purpose-built for AI, really. And what I mean by that is, it wasn't an afterthought for us, right? We came out 5 years ago with this realization that, with the help of machine learning tools and with the help of NLP, natural language programming, and with the help of deep learning, we could really transform the way, customers execute on their plans and basically, enterprises deliver, exciting results, right? So what's unique about Aviso is our ability to go into different source systems for data, our ability to take a best-of-breed approach in terms of the models we use, and marry that with the exciting innovations we're seeing nowadays, like, for example, ChatGPT. What most people don't realize is when you look at ChatGPT, it's very B2C focused, and of course they've come up with an enterprise AI offering now. Companies like GitHub or Dell or Honeywell, some of the largest companies in the world. What's really important for them is to be able to leverage these tool sets in a secure fashion. So what Aviso does is a hybrid approach where we're leveraging best-in-class open source models like Vicuna, out there, and then taking that information and marrying it up with our own unique algorithms around email, calendar, NLP, machine learning, enterprise learning software, and we bring that together to provide this unique view for every employee and every part of the enterprise, while freeing you up from the suck work, right? What that does is we're seeing employees get 10 to 15 hours a week back in terms of efficiency, and that's a tremendous impact on your top line and bottom line, right?
Absolutely. It sounds like it's not just about the numbers, but it's really a tool to understand consumer behavior and market dynamics as well.
Absolutely. I think people who ignore history and macro events are destined to repeat them, as we say, right? So with Aviso, we look for signals across the board, right? When we help you target the right customer, we're very sensitive to what the macro environment looks like. At the same time, we're looking to see whether those macro events or the macro environment is affecting it from an interest rate perspective. The yield curve is inverting. Information like that is key to make plans, right? So, and at the end of the day, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the nose, as they say. But what Aviso does is it enables you to really, in some senses, predict where the market is going, predict where your business is going, and help you mitigate that risk, and then effectively execute according to plan.
Absolutely. Going off of that point, generative AI is the talk of the town these days, or the talk of the street. And business leaders are really recognizing generative AI as the iPhone of the decade, per se.
Absolutely.
Tell me about your AI chief of staff.
So the AI chief of staff, we've always been, our focus since founding has been to delight the end user. And what generative AI has done is given us the ability to leverage, the ability to really talk to computers. And what I mean by that is, when you look at generative AI, we use open source models, of course. We've decided, made a conscious decision to go with Vicuna, Llama 2, and essentially what we're doing is we're enabling folks to take this information, that exists out there. So if you look at generative AI today, in some senses, it's almost like autocomplete, right? When I say autocomplete, for example, the human corpus is limited, right? Like, let's take pi. I can go and say, I can probably go to about 39 decimals, so about 3.145, 626, 535, 897, so on and so forth, right? But even I'm limited in my corpus. If you're using generative AI, you could probably do 3 trillion decimals in about 121 days, right? So, but at the same time, generative AI is very limited in its automation, right? So it does shallow computations. So you need a hybrid architecture where you're taking generative AI and you're marrying it up with insights that you get from NLP, machine learning, deep learning. And what MIKI does is it takes that information, enables you to go and provides those insights for you in a fashion that's almost like a Google prompt. So what we've seen the adoption of MIKI right now is around 95 to 96% across our install base. And a large reason for that is we're removing the suck work out of the day, right? We're enabling you to really focus on what's important to you. Bring out that inner Elon Musk, that inner Kristina, or that inner Steve Jobs, so you really be a better version of yourself, right? And we think at the end of the day, employees are very excited by that, right? So.
Yeah, it sounds like it's that next generation of insights and development.
Absolutely. So.
What are this generation of sales leaders doing differently than the past?
So, not to date myself, but if you go back, 15 years, I was at Oracle, and we were talking about that earlier, and I'd done 1,400% of my number, which was unusual, for the most part. But I was always, in some ways, a square, in a round hole, right? At the end of the day. So for me, the way I did it was by putting in an extra amount of effort. So, essentially, really doing research on my customers, understanding the 10K, understanding the earnings calls, and I think it's table stakes for any successful enterprise sales rep to do that. With MIKI, which is our machine intelligence and knowledge user interface, it's a chief of staff that does that work for you. You could just say, hey, MIKI, go and look at ARM's earnings call or ARM's IPO. Give me an analysis. Tell me what are the strategic objectives they outlined. How does that map to my current projects, et cetera. So I just think the account executives of today, while the burden on them is to perform at a higher bar because of the current economic environment, it also gives them the ability to absorb information in a rapid fashion because of the tools like Aviso that exists out there. So in some ways, you've got a best of breed tool that sits on your shoulder like Jiminy Cricket and tells you and guides you through the entire process. So that's tremendous for AEs, and that's why we're seeing more and more AEs excited about Aviso and leveraging it to get exciting revenue results.
Absolutely. Now, Aviso has grown tremendously over the past year. What's been your strategy? What's been your growth strategy?
So at the end of the day, it's about being, it's a theme we have throughout the company, right? And we call it, really keeping the customer at the center of what you do. So we have a seventh methodology or a seventh philosophy where at the end of the day, we're there to serve you, our customers, and we're there to provide you with exciting new tools and staying at the edge of innovation, right? And I think what served Aviso well is the ability to prevent what I call a swivel chair approach. So you don't have to go to multiple point solutions to address and do your job. And that's tremendous, right? Because what customers today want is that we're seeing a consolidation of platforms, both from a cost perspective as well as the fact that most customers, when they look at their current enterprise software deployment, they see what we call a lot of bloat. And what I mean by bloat is they got 6 different systems out there. If you talk to CROs or chief revenue officers, they talk about the fact that only 39% of them are happy with the tool set. So that's not a really good metric, right? So what Aviso is doing is it's streamlining that process, simplifying it for them. And we're seeing customers bet big on us, right? We've seen on average about 300% growth over the last 18 months. And this year we're predicting over 100% growth. So it's exciting times for us when a lot of our peers are struggling to close business. We actually like the way things are because people are asking the hard questions about why and what value and why with you versus someone else.
That's amazing. You're fostering a culture of growth, expansion, innovation, and at the same time growing alongside your customers.
Well, you could say it better.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Trevor. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
And we look forward to continue following.
Excellent. Thanks, Kristina.